which means they placed in the top 2, which basically means they could only lose 1 game. Brockemon asking if Mirai's going to go 1 base Colossi, and Mirai, knowing his strategy has been revealed, is very terrified. We do see the map is Shattered Temple. They're spawning on the close positions by ground, which actually isn't that close on Shattered Temple. It's not quite as close as Metalopolis, for example, but it's also not that far either, I guess. The close positions, of course, makes this watchtower completely useless, which is one huge disadvantage that the old Lost Temple used to have this watchtower down around here, which was much more exciting in my opinion. It meant you could actually have a lot of battles over the watchtower, and whoever held that was at a pretty significant advantage, really. So let's see what sort of builds come out for both players here. So far, exactly the same thing we've seen every game from Mirai and Brockemon. Of course, Brockemon has gone for the same style every single game thus far, that heavy bio with medevac play, which has done quite well. Mirai losing that first game pretty convincingly, but the second game came back with some Dark Templars, but without those he was in a lot of trouble, really. So my money here would be on Brockemon if they go for a similar style. I think Brockemon has definitely played the better of the two across those 2 games, but let's see what happens. Mirai's gateway is coming down, and the gas back to a standard timing, so Brockemon has not actually seen that, but should check that out, because of course last time Mirai went for that excuse me, big Zealot rush where he didn't get gas for quite a while, which delayed his tech significantly, and really he needed those Dark Templar to come back into the game. He needed something just to pull him back, and Dark Templar is definitely the sort of unit that can do that. If your opposition just doesn't have defenses at home, or just doesn't have detection, it's just an instant loss. So Dark Templar, much like Banshees, are a very powerful unit for coming back into the game when you're far behind after some sort of failed early aggression. And Brockemon just playing standard, getting 2 Marines out quickly. This scouting SCV is still alive. I do not believe he has seen the gas now, he has seen the core, and that Zealot is getting chrono boosted and actually getting rallied over to Brockmon's base once again. So a similar early push here with the Zealot. Brockemon sees the Zealot come out, but doesn't necessarily know it's headed towards his base just yet. But Mirai this time getting both gases up quickly, not getting a second gate and actually getting a core instead. So some very key differences between this build and the last one, and the Stalker getting chrono boosted out as well. Now this Zealot's going to get to the ramp and see 2 Marines and not really be able to do a whole lot against these units. We just see a bunker actually getting dropped for Brockemon, which won't actually complete by the time the Zealot gets in there, but that's okay. He should be able to hold this off regardless. That Zealot now hitting on the Marines. He needs to micro those Marines a bit better. Just running both of them away, it's not the best way to micro this, but he does have more Marines about to pop out, pulling SCVs to tank the Zealot. Obviously not confident in his micro of those Marines, but the Zealot only gets 1 SCV kill, so nothing too disastrous for Brockemon. But other than that, we see the exact same build we've seen every game. The 2 barracks, the first one with the reactor, the second one with the tech lab coming down, so I can guarantee you Stim is going to be researched out of that tech lab straight away, and that is the build we've seen out of Brockemon thus far in this this series, and there's no reason to change it really. It's been very effective for him, so I believe he knows he can win if he just executes this build properly. Meanwhile, Mirai adding on 2 more gateways, chrono boosting out Sentry now, and with just a Stalker at the ramp, looks pretty secure once that Sentry gets out. You should be able to force feed that ramp to deny any sort of early push. And Brockemon actually being very smart about patrolling this Marine across the top here. In case there's any sort of pylon dropped here, it's pretty common to have Predators drop a pylon and then an observer to warp in on the high ground to avoid your frontline defenses, but as a bio army, I mean, that's not too devastating anyway. Of course, you're pretty mobile. It's mainly when you're a mech army that's scary. We do see Mirai still has this spotting probe down the bottom here, as well as a probe on the watchtower, so knows exactly what Brockemon is going to be doing, or when he's going to be pushing out rather. But actually, he doesn't really. He's not spotting this path along the middle, and that's the problem with this watchtower. It really doesn't do anything for close positions. I mean, you can see if your opponent tries to sneak a far away expo, but I mean that's it really. It's not worth holding, to be honest. This probe here gives a lot more information. It shows when the expansion is going to go up for Brockemon, which is much more important for Mirai. So he knows if he's against a 1 base or a 2 base terrain, and we do see that command center is now getting built. So again, the exact same play we've seen out of Brockemon every game thus far. Would not be surprised to see a factory come down in just a minute as well as the second gas, get the reactor on the factory, and drop a starport as well. Because that's exactly what we've been seeing. Mirai, in the meantime, is going to be expanding and warping in a ton of sentries, which is very similar to what he did first game. He gets a huge number of sentries, but they just don't do good damage. They do 6 damage with an attack speed of only 1, whereas Stalkers, for example, do 10 damage with an attack speed of 1.4, which is much more effective DPS wise, especially if it's an armored unit, in which case they do 14 damage, which is just huge damage there. Yeah, I mean, Brockemon just looks to have the better composition at the moment. A handful of Marauders in there and just a bunch of Marines, which are the high DPS options in this army. And it does look like he's going to be pushing out now that Stim has completed researching. The engineering bay going up at the very same time we normally see it. Factory complete, should see a starboard in a minute from Brockemon, but more importantly, let's see how this push goes. Mirai, I don't think is prepared to handle this. He's got 2 Zealots, a ton of sentries, and a Stalker, and actually I'm going to pull up an army tab here. You can see the army supply here for both players. Brockemon started 10 supply ahead, and we actually look at this, he is just flying ahead now. He's doubling, tripling the army supply of Mirai, and this is going to be GG, only 10 supply in army for Mirai. So that little graphic there just demonstrated how terribly far ahead Brockemon is at the moment, denying this expansion. Only sentries left to defend, which is not good DPS units, as I've pointed out several times. Probes coming down desperately trying to hold on, but it does not look good enough. Brockemon doubling the supply of Mirai, and just easily kiting those Zealots to infinity with those Marauders. All these probes coming down, noticing they get cleaned up very comfortably. A couple of sentries trying to block them in, which is, you know, good force field to block the units in, kind of, but just no DPS here for Mirai. These 2 sentries somehow managed to clean up, but Brockemon with a 30 food lead at the moment. And we actually look at the unit station. It is 12 harvesters to 33. Mirai only got 12 probes, and of course Brockemon has those mules as well. And pulling up another graphic, we see the income. Just look at that blue. Look how dominant it is over on the right hand side. About 1100 resources, minerals to 300, and a gas of about 170 or so to 50. So definitely quite far ahead for Brockemon. And Mirai just GGing, recognises he's so far behind. There's just no way he can come back with this, and so Brockemon winning 2-1 in this series, pretty comfortably. Alright, and I'm actually gonna call that a night now. It's 9:10, and